Close your eyes for a moment and think of the first time you held a Nintendo controller. Perhaps you were young, sitting cross-legged on carpet that held the afternoon sunlight. Perhaps it was evening, and the glow from the television painted the room in blues and greens. There's something about Nintendo's worlds that feels less like playing a game and more like stepping into a memory you're not quite sure you had. A dream that belongs to everyone and no one all at once. For over 4 decades, Nintendo has been crafting experiences that don't just entertain, but enchant. Their games possess a quality that's difficult to articulate, something that sets them apart from the photorealistic battlefields and gritty narratives that dominate modern gaming. Nintendo's worlds feel mythological in the truest sense. Not just in their storytelling, though we'll explore that deeply, but in how they exist in our consciousness. Like ancient myths passed down through generations, Nintendo's games have become part of our collective memory, evolving with each retelling while maintaining their essential magic. What makes Nintendo's approach so distinctive isn't technological prowess or cutting-edge graphics. It's something far more elusive and precious. It's the way a green pipe in the Mushroom Kingdom feels like a portal to somewhere that existed long before pixels and processors. It's how Link's awakening in each new adventure feels like we're remembering something rather than discovering it. It's the gentle melancholy that underlies Kirby's bright pink cheerfulness, the ancient sorrow embedded in the Chozo ruins of Metroid, the cosmic mythology woven through seemingly simple Pokémon adventures. Nintendo's design philosophy, rooted in what company legend Gunpei Yokoi called lateral thinking with withered technology, has always prioritized creativity over raw power. While competitors pushed for increasingly realistic graphics and complex mechanics, Nintendo looked at familiar elements and asked how they could be combined in new, unexpected ways. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creative force behind Mario, Zelda, and countless other franchises, has often explained that his games are inspired not by other games, but by everyday experiences. The exploration in The Legend of Zelda came from his childhood adventures through forests and caves near Kyoto. The jumping mechanics of Mario were refined through countless iterations to capture something fundamental about movement and momentum that feels right in a way that transcends realism. This approach has created something remarkable. Nintendo's worlds don't feel designed so much as discovered. They possess an internal logic that makes sense emotionally even when it defies rational explanation. Why do mushrooms make you grow larger? Why do rings protect you from harm? Why can a small pink sphere defeat cosmic deities? These questions miss the point entirely. Nintendo's games operate on dream logic, where symbols carry meaning beyond their literal interpretation, where emotional truth matters more than mechanical consistency. In the quiet hours of night, when the world feels distant and dreamlike itself, these games reveal their deepest qualities. They're not just entertainment, but mythology for the modern age, creation stories told through play, journeys of heroes that feel both epic and intimate. As we drift through this exploration of Nintendo's lore, we'll discover how these seemingly simple games contain universes of meaning, how their bright colors and cheerful melodies mask profound depths, how their stories of courage and friendship and discovery speak to something timeless in the human experience. The journey ahead will take us through kingdoms made of mushrooms and castles built from dreams. We'll trace timelines that split and converge across eons. We'll contemplate the loneliness of space and the warmth of friendship. We'll uncover creation myths involving primordial chaos and eggs that contain infinity. But more than anything, we'll explore why these stories matter, why they linger in our memories long after the console powers down, why they feel less like games we've played and more like worlds we've truly visited. So settle in, Let the day's tensions ease from your shoulders, and prepare to remember why Nintendo's worlds have always felt like home, even if we've never been there before. This is the story of how a company in Kyoto, Japan, created not just games, but entire mythologies, not just entertainment, but lasting dreams that continue to evolve with each person who experiences them. Let us begin where all great journeys begin, at the threshold, looking toward distant horizons that shimmer with promise and mystery. Let us step, together, into the dream. The Mushroom Kingdom exists in that peculiar space between the familiar and the fantastic, where pipes connect impossible distances and mushrooms grant transformative power. But beneath its cheerful exterior lies a rich foundation of mythology, cultural influences, and symbolic meaning that makes it one of gaming's most enduring settings. When Shigeru Miyamoto created Super Mario Bros. In 1985, he was drawing from a deep well of Japanese folklore and mythology, often without Western audiences realizing the cultural context. The seemingly whimsical elements of the Mushroom Kingdom each carry mythological weight, transforming what appears to be a simple platformer into something far more resonant. Consider the Super Mushroom itself, that iconic power-up that launched 1,000 game mechanics. Mushrooms in Japanese culture, particularly the Matsutake mushroom, are seen as symbols of transformation and hidden potential. They grow in secret, emerging suddenly from seemingly barren ground, much like Mario's sudden growth when he consumes one. But the mythological roots run deeper. In various East Asian traditions, certain mushrooms were believed to grant immortality or supernatural abilities. The Lingji mushroom, for instance, appears frequently in Chinese mythology as a divine fungus that connects the earthly and heavenly realms. This concept of transformation through consumption appears repeatedly in the Mushroom Kingdom. The Super Leaf, which transforms Mario into his raccoon form, draws directly from the tanuki of Japanese folklore. The tanuki, often mistranslated as raccoon, is actually a raccoon dog, a creature celebrated in Japanese mythology for its shape-shifting abilities and playful trickery. In traditional tales, tanuki would place leaves on their heads and chant to initiate their transformations, becoming anything from inanimate objects to humans. This is precisely why the Super Leaf grants Mario transformation. It's a direct reference to this mythological practice. The tanuki suit takes this further, granting Mario the ability to transform into a statue. In Japanese folklore, tanuki statues are common outside businesses and temples, believed to bring prosperity and ward off evil. These statues often depict tanuki with large bellies and straw hats, cheerful guardians frozen in eternal welcome. When Mario becomes a statue, he's not just invulnerable, he's becoming a spiritual guardian, embodying the protective qualities attributed to these folkloric creatures. Before Buddhism arrived in Japan, animals were revered as nature lords, possessing mystical powers. The tanuki was among these minor deities, a keeper of forests and fields. When Buddhism introduced new hierarchies, tanuki lost their divine status, but retained their supernatural abilities, becoming tricksters rather than gods. This duality, both sacred and mischievous, perfectly captures Mario's relationship with the Mushroom Kingdom. He's both hero and playful troublemaker, jumping on creatures' heads and knocking blocks with abandon. The cloud-riding Lakitu draws from Chinese and Japanese mythology's depictions of supernatural beings using clouds as vehicles. In classical Asian art, immortals and celestial beings are frequently shown seated on or emerging from stylized clouds, much like Lakitu peers down from his perch. The clouds themselves were seen as bridges between the earthly and divine realms, which gives new meaning to Lakitu's role. He's not just an enemy, but a being existing between worlds, tossing down spiny challenges from his celestial vantage point. The Mushroom Kingdom itself follows a classic monarchy structure ruled by Princess Peach, though the original Japanese name Toadstool more directly connects her to the kingdom's fungal foundation. Interestingly, the Mushroom King appears in the original Super Mario Bros. Manual, but rarely in subsequent games, suggesting either his death or retirement. This creates an interesting narrative where Peach represents the continuation of a royal line, maintaining order in a kingdom constantly threatened by external forces. That external threat, of course, is Bowser and his Koopa Kingdom. The name Koopa comes from the Japanese word for the dish gukbap, though the turtle-shelled creatures themselves draw from the kappa of Japanese folklore. Kappa are water-dwelling creatures with shells on their backs and a depression in their skulls that holds water, the source of their power. Drain the water, and the kappa becomes helpless. While Bowser's Koopa Troopas have evolved beyond their kappa origins, the connection to Japanese water spirits adds depth to their presence. Bowser himself represents something more primal, a dragon-turtle hybrid that embodies destructive force. In Asian mythology, dragons are often associated with natural disasters and divine retribution, powerful beings whose anger brings chaos. Yet dragons are also wise and can be reasoned with, which explains Bowser's complex portrayal. He's not merely evil, but rather represents disorder and ambition, seeking to rule rather than destroy, expressing genuine feelings for Peach even as he kidnaps her. The geography of the Mushroom Kingdom reveals its mythological nature. The presence of floating islands, underwater kingdoms, volcanic regions, and cloud worlds, all within a single realm, suggests this isn't a normal physical space, but something more akin to a mythological cosmology. Like the various realms of Norse mythology or the different kingdoms in Chinese legends, the Mushroom Kingdom contains multitudes, each region representing different elemental or conceptual domains. The pipes that connect these regions function as Yggdrasil-like links between worlds, reminiscent of the world tree in Norse mythology that connected 9 different realms. In the Mushroom Kingdom, pipes serve this function, creating a network of connections that makes the kingdom feel both vast and intimately connected. You can travel from underground caverns to cloud kingdoms through the same green tunnel, suggesting these aren't mere transportation devices, but mystical passages. The inhabitants of the Mushroom Kingdom, the Toads, present their own mythological dimension. These mushroom people, with their spotted heads and cheerful dispositions, represent the common folk of this realm. Their vulnerability, constantly being kidnapped or transformed into blocks and plants by Bowser's magic, creates the quest's urgency. Their innocence in need of protection, civilian populations caught between cosmic forces. This transformation magic deserves special attention. In the original Super Mario Bros. Manual, we learn that Bowser turned the Mushroom Kingdom's inhabitants into blocks and stones. This means every block Mario breaks, every brick he shatters, might have once been a living toad. This dark undercurrent, rarely emphasized in the cheerful games, suggests the Mushroom Kingdom is a realm where transformation is fundamental. Identity is fluid here. Mushrooms can make you grow. Leaves can make you fly. Flowers grant fire powers. The very substance of being seems malleable, responding to magical catalyst. This concept connects to alchemical traditions, where transformation was not just physical, but spiritual. The alchemist's quest to turn lead into gold was simultaneously a metaphor for spiritual refinement, the transformation of the base self into something purer. Mario's transformations follow similar patterns. He doesn't just become more powerful, he becomes different versions of himself, accessing new abilities that were always potentially present, just requiring the right catalyst to manifest. The coins scattered throughout the Mushroom Kingdom create another layer of meaning. In many cultures, gold and precious metals are associated with the sun, with divine favor, with worthiness. Collecting coins becomes a measure of Mario's heroic virtue, quite literally counting his accomplishments. Reaching 100 coins grants an extra life, suggesting that accumulating enough worth, enough proof of your journey, grants you another chance at existence itself. Stars, those invincibility-granting items, carry obvious celestial symbolism. In mythologies worldwide, stars represent divinity, eternity, and transcendence. When Mario touches a star, he doesn't just become invincible, he transcends his normal existence, accompanied by different music, his body radiating light, enemies fleeing his presence. It's a temporary divine state, a brief taste of what it means to be beyond normal constraints. The paintings in Super Mario 64 present yet another mythological element. They're not mere decorations, but portals to other realms, each one containing a completely different world. This mirrors folkloric traditions where paintings, mirrors, or still waters could serve as gateways to other planes of existence. In Japanese folklore, tsukumogami are objects that gain awareness after existing for 100 years. The paintings in Peach's castle, housing entire worlds within their frames, suggest similar animistic principles, where objects contain spirits and realities beyond their physical form. The recurring element of rescue drives the Mario narrative. Princess Peach is kidnapped repeatedly, sometimes to the point of parody, but this repetition itself carries mythological weight. In many traditional stories, the cycle of separation and reunion, of chaos and restoration, plays out again and again. Winter always follows fall. The hero must always answer the call. The princess must always be saved. Not because the story hasn't been told properly, but because the story itself is about cycles, about the eternal return of these patterns. Some fans have theorized, based on the Yoshi's Island games, that Mario was born in the Mushroom Kingdom, that this fantastical realm is his true home. This would explain his comfort navigating impossible terrain, his natural ability to harness the kingdom's transformative magic, his deep connection to this place. He's not a visitor, but a native son, a child of this mythological landscape who grew up understanding its dream logic. The Star Festival shown in games like Super Mario Galaxy expands this mythology to cosmic scale. Stars fall from the sky once a century, granting wishes to those present. This festival celebrates the connection between the Mushroom Kingdom and the greater cosmos, suggesting that this small mushroom realm exists within a much larger universe, one where stars themselves are conscious beings capable of granting wishes and creating galaxies. The presence of multiple kingdoms, shown most explicitly in Super Mario Odyssey, reveals that the Mushroom Kingdom is just one realm among many. There's the Metro Kingdom's New Donk City, with its realistic humans and jazz music. There's the Luncheon Kingdom built around food and volcanoes. There's the Lake Kingdom of peaceful fish people, and the Seaside Kingdom with its sparkling beaches. Each realm has its own rules, aesthetics, and inhabitants, yet all exist within the same greater reality. This multiverse approach transforms our understanding of the Mushroom Kingdom. It's not an isolated fairy tale, but one kingdom among many, each with their own magic systems and cultures. Mario's ability to travel between them, to adapt to their different rules, marks him as something special, a being capable of moving between mythological realms while maintaining his essential identity. The coins of each kingdom have different designs, yet Mario can collect them all. The local residents recognize him as a hero despite his otherworldly appearance. This suggests Mario has become something beyond a simple resident of the Mushroom Kingdom. He's a legend, a figure of myth himself, recognized across realities as the champion who appears when darkness threatens. The moon's role in various Mario games adds another layer of mythology. In Super Mario Odyssey, Bowser plans to marry Peach on the moon, treating Earth's satellite as a romantic destination. This isn't arbitrary. In many cultures, the moon represents feminine energy, mystery, and transformation. It's associated with weddings and unions. Bowser, in his twisted way, is trying to perform a cosmic marriage, binding himself to Peach in the most mythologically significant location possible. The Rabbids crossover in Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle introduces chaos into the Mushroom Kingdom, dimension-hopping creatures wielding a device that fuses things together. What could have been a mere promotional oddity instead explores what happens when different realities collide. The fusion mechanic creates hybrid creatures, suggesting that the boundaries between worlds in Nintendo's cosmology are more permeable than we might think. The Paper Mario series takes this further, revealing the Mushroom Kingdom as literally two-dimensional, a paper world existing alongside the three-dimensional one. This isn't just a visual style, but a canonical reality, one where Mario can fold and manipulate the very fabric of his existence. It suggests that reality itself in Nintendo's universe is multifaceted, existing in different dimensions and formats simultaneously. Throughout all these games, certain elements remain constant. The green pipes, the question blocks, the mushrooms, the stars. These are the mythological constants, the symbols that transcend individual games and stories to become something more. They're the iconography of this mythology, recognized instantly by anyone familiar with the tradition. They carry meaning beyond their function, representing transformation, mystery, power, and transcendence respectively. The Mushroom Kingdom's mythology is one of transformation and cycles, of heroes who rise to meet challenges, of kingdoms that fall and are restored. It's a mythology where the common person, represented by the mustachioed plumber Mario, can become extraordinary through courage and determination. It's mythology that says power is found in mushrooms growing in the earth, in stars that fall from heaven, in leaves that grant the abilities of trickster gods. And perhaps most importantly, it's mythology that invites participation. Unlike the distant gods of classical mythology, Mario's world is one you can enter, where you can make the hero jump, where you can discover secrets and overcome challenges. It's mythology made interactive, allowing each player to become part of the eternal story, to experience for themselves the joy of restoration, of bringing order back to a kingdom threatened by chaos. As we move forward through other Nintendo mythologies, we'll find similar depths beneath cheerful surfaces, similar wisdom hidden in seeming simplicity. But the Mushroom Kingdom stands as Nintendo's foundational mythology, the one that established how a game world could be both whimsical and meaningful, both accessible and profound. The green pipes beckon. Further adventures await. The dream continues. If the Mushroom Kingdom represents mythology as fairy tale, then Hyrule embodies mythology as epic, as a grand cyclical narrative spanning ages and reincarnations, where the same story plays out across millennia in endless variations. The Legend of Zelda timeline is notoriously complex, famously splitting into 3 separate branches following the events of Ocarina of Time. But this complexity isn't a flaw or a retcon. Instead, it represents something profound about how myths actually work, how stories change in the telling, how different versions of the same essential tale can all be true simultaneously. At the foundation of Hyrule's mythology lies the creation story, as told in various games, but most explicitly in Skyward Sword. Before the world existed, before land rose from primordial waters, there was only chaos. Into this chaos descended 3 golden goddesses: Din, goddess of power who created the land; Nayru, goddess of wisdom who established law and order; and Farore, goddess of courage who filled the world with life. Having completed their creation, the goddesses departed, leaving behind the Triforce, a sacred relic containing their divine essence, This triangular artifact, divided into 3 parts representing power, wisdom, and courage, becomes the central focus of Hyrule's mythology. Whoever possesses the complete Triforce can reshape reality according to their wishes, making it both infinitely powerful and infinitely dangerous. To protect the Triforce, the goddess Hylia remained behind as its guardian. This introduces an interesting theological layer to Hyrule's mythology. The Golden Goddesses are distant creators, having completed their work and departed. Hylia, by contrast, is an active deity, directly involved in protecting the world and its inhabitants. This distinction between distant creator gods and present protective deities appears in many real-world mythologies. When the demon Demise threatened to claim the Triforce and destroy the world, Hylia made a profound sacrifice. She sent the human population to live on islands floating in the sky, severing the earth below from the heavens above. Then, knowing her divine form wouldn't be enough to defeat Demise permanently, she gave up her immortality, choosing to be reborn as a mortal, the first Zelda. This act of divine self-sacrifice echoes myths from various cultures where gods become human to better understand or save humanity. But Hylia's plan went further. She arranged for a hero to be born, one who would wield a divine blade and possess unbreakable courage. This hero was Link, the first in an endless line of heroes who would carry that name. The story of Skyward Sword shows this first Link awakening to his destiny, descending from the Sky Islands to the surface below. He forges the Goddess Sword into the Master Sword, defeats Demise, and believes peace has been achieved. But in his final moments, Demise speaks a curse that echoes through all of Hyrule's history. An incarnation of his hatred will be reborn eternally, pursuing those who carry the blood of the goddess and the spirit of the hero. This curse creates the cycle that defines Zelda mythology. This isn't mere repetition, it's reincarnation and cyclical time, concepts central to many Eastern religions and philosophies. The same essential struggle plays out again and again, but each iteration is unique, shaped by the specific historical moment and the individuals involved. Link isn't a single person living forever. He's a spirit of heroism that manifests in different individuals across time. Similarly, Zelda carries the blood of the goddess, making each princess who bears that name a fragment of divinity. And Ganondorf, the primary antagonist of the series, is the manifestation of Demise's curse. Interestingly, unlike Link and Zelda, who are reincarnated in new bodies, Ganondorf appears to be the same individual across multiple timelines, repeatedly returning from death or imprisonment. This suggests his nature is different, more tied to Demise's original demon essence than to natural reincarnation. The Triforce serves as both the prize these forces compete for and the balance point between them. Power, wisdom, and courage must exist in balance for the world to prosper. When one force becomes too dominant, chaos results. Ganondorf typically claims the Triforce of power, his ambition and strength making him its natural bearer. Zelda, with her royal wisdom and divine blood, holds the Triforce of wisdom. Link, through his courage and pure heart, claims the Triforce of courage. This creates a trinity that mirrors countless mythological and religious structures: Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Maiden, Mother, Crone. 3 forces that are separate yet interconnected, whose balance creates harmony and whose imbalance creates strife. The timeline split following Ocarina of Time represents something fascinating about the nature of Hyrule's reality. After Link pulls the Master Sword from its pedestal, he's sealed away for 7 years, allowing Ganondorf to conquer Hyrule. When adult Link defeats Ganondorf and is sent back to his childhood by Zelda, the timeline splits into 3 branches. In the adult timeline, Link leaves for parts unknown. Ganondorf eventually escapes his seal, and the goddesses flood Hyrule to prevent his conquest, creating the Great Sea of Wind Waker. In the child timeline, young Link warns Zelda about Ganondorf's treachery, leading to the villain's execution and the events that culminate in Twilight Princess. And in the fallen hero timeline, Link fails in his quest against Ganondorf, leading to the imprisoning war and the events of A Link to the Past. Some fans initially viewed this timeline as a retcon, a clumsy attempt to fit unrelated games into a single continuity. But examined mythologically, it's brilliant. It acknowledges that myths exist in multiple versions simultaneously. The story of Achilles has different tellings where he dies in different ways. Norse mythology has contradictory accounts of various events. Biblical stories exist in multiple canonical variations. The Zelda timeline, by embracing 3 simultaneous truths, operates exactly as mythology does. Moreover, it creates thematic richness. The adult timeline explores what happens when the hero leaves, when people must save themselves without a chosen one. The ocean that covers Hyrule becomes both tomb and rebirth, the old kingdom sleeping beneath waves while new civilizations flourish above. The King of Red Lions, secretly the King of Hyrule preserved across centuries, embodies this connection between past and future, between the drowned kingdom and the hopeful present. The child timeline examines the consequences of knowledge, of preventing evil before it fully manifests. When Ganondorf is executed, his dark power doesn't dissipate but transforms, eventually leading to the Twilight Realm invasion in Twilight Princess. The hero in this timeline must confront not just external evil, but corruption seeping in from another dimension, a shadow realm that represents suppressed darkness returning. The fallen hero timeline is darkest, showing what happens when evil wins. The imprisoning war that follows Link's failure is catastrophic, resulting in Ganon's seal in the Dark World, but also in lasting corruption. The heroes in this timeline aren't chosen ones awakening to destiny, but ordinary people forced to become extraordinary because no one else will. This timeline shows resilience, the capacity for new heroes to rise even when the prophesied one has failed. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom complicate this mythology further, by existing so far in the future that all 3 timelines may have reconverged, or the distinction no longer matters. The kingdom exists in ruins, ancient shrines dot the landscape, and technology from the distant past lies buried beneath the earth. Hyrule has fallen and risen countless times, each cycle leaving layers of civilization for Link to discover. The Zonai, revealed in Tears of the Kingdom as an ancient civilization predating even the Kingdom of Hyrule, add new depth to the creation mythology. These beings, described as descended from the gods, built structures that combined advanced technology with mystical power, blurring the line between science and magic in ways that challenge our understanding of Hyrule's history. This constant rediscovery of the past is central to Zelda's mythology. Each game features Link exploring ancient ruins, reading inscriptions left by long-dead civilizations, and wielding artifacts from ages past. The Master Sword itself is a relic from the First Age, forged by the goddess and blessed by her divine flame. It sleeps in pedestal or forest, waiting for the worthy hero to awaken it once again. The races of Hyrule each carry their own mythological significance. The Hylians, characterized by their pointed ears, said to hear the voices of the gods, are the chosen people, marked by destiny. The Gorons, rock-eating beings who live in volcanic mountains, represent earthly strength and simple honor. The Zora, aquatic people who evolved into the more bird-like Rito in Wind Waker, embody adaptation and grace. The Gerudo, desert warriors from which Ganondorf originates, are predominantly female, suggesting themes of Amazonian myth. The Sheikah, mysterious ninja-like people who serve the royal family, represent hidden knowledge and shadow work necessary for light to triumph. In Breath of the Wild, their ancient technology becomes central to the plot. Enormous mechanical beings called divine beasts, and countless shrines scattered across Hyrule, all bearing the eye symbol of the Sheikah. This reveals that at some point in the distant past, Hyrule achieved incredible technological advancement, then collapsed, leaving only ruins and the slowly waking machines. This cycle of rise and fall, of civilizations reaching great heights, then tumbling into darkness, mirrors historical patterns, but also mythological ones. The concept of ages or yugas appears in Hindu mythology, where the world goes through cycles of creation and destruction. Norse mythology speaks of Ragnarok, an apocalyptic event leading to the world's rebirth. Hyrule follows similar patterns, each age ending in catastrophe, each new age built on the bones of the old. The Triforce itself becomes a MacGuffin, a desired object that drives the plot, but whose true meaning goes deeper. Its three triangles represent an ideal balance, but they also represent choice. Power without wisdom becomes tyranny. Wisdom without courage becomes paralysis. Courage without wisdom becomes recklessness. The complete Triforce, uniting all three, represents wholeness, the integration of these qualities into a complete being. Interestingly, no villain in the series actually achieves this integration. Ganondorf claims the Triforce of power, but never earns the others, making him powerful but ultimately hollow, doomed to repeat his defeat across the ages. Link and Zelda together possess wisdom and courage, but they rarely seek power for its own sake, making them noble but sometimes ineffective without the power to enact their ideals. The sacred realm, where the Triforce rests, exists outside normal space and time. Access to it requires the Master Sword or other divine keys, and the realm itself reflects the heart of whoever enters. When Ganondorf entered with dark intentions, the sacred realm became the Dark World, a twisted mirror of Hyrule filled with monsters and corruption. This suggests the realm is less a place than a spiritual dimension, shaped by consciousness itself. The sages who appear throughout Zelda mythology represent another key element. These enlightened beings, often 7 in number, serve as both guardians and guides. They channel the power of ancient elements or concepts: fire, water, forest, spirit, shadow, light. Their temples are simultaneously religious sites and puzzle-filled dungeons, places where Link must prove his worth and awaken their power. This combination of temple and trial appears in many mythologies. The labors of Hercules, the trials of Osiris, the journey of the Buddha toward enlightenment, all involve overcoming challenges to achieve spiritual advancement. Link's dungeons serve the same function. He doesn't just fight monsters. He solves puzzles, demonstrates wisdom alongside courage, proves himself worthy of the power he seeks. The dungeons themselves are mythologically rich. They're not random monster lairs, but carefully designed spaces, each with its own theme and logic. Fire temples in volcanic mountains, water temples in lakes or seas, forest temples in ancient groves, shadow temples in graveyards. These aren't just environmental variety. They're expressions of elemental forces, aspects of reality Link must master to complete his quest. The bosses that dwell in these temples are equally symbolic. They're not merely powerful enemies, but embodiments of the corruption plaguing each region. Defeating them doesn't just clear a dungeon, it purifies the land, restores balance. To nature, awakens the sage who can help seal the greater evil. Each victory is both literal and symbolic, a piece of the world saved and restored. The Ocarina of Time, the Wind Waker, the Spirit Flute, all these musical instruments grant Link power over reality itself. He can change day to night, call storms, teleport across vast distances, all through music. This reflects ancient beliefs in the power of sound and harmony. In Hindu tradition, the universe began with the sound Om. In Christian tradition, the Gospel of John states, "In the beginning was the Word." Hyrule's mythology similarly treats music as fundamental, a way to communicate with the divine, to reshape reality through perfect harmony. The songs Link learns are often passed down from ancient times, their origins lost, but their power remaining. The Song of Time. The Song of Storms. The Song of Healing. Each represents a different aspect of existence that can be influenced through understanding and harmonizing with fundamental forces. Majora's Mask presents perhaps the darkest variation of Zelda mythology, with a moon falling toward the earth, 3 days looping endlessly, and Link wearing masks that transform him into different races. The masks themselves are fascinating mythological objects. They contain the spirits or essences of the deceased, allowing Link to become them temporarily. This is body horror blended with spiritual channeling, a mechanization of shamanic practices where one takes on the spirit of another being. The moon with its grotesque face, the increasingly apocalyptic atmosphere, the themes of grief and denial, all make Majora's Mask feel like a fever dream, a nightmare exploration of Zelda's usually more optimistic mythology. Yet it fits. Mythology isn't only about heroes triumphing, it's also about confronting death, accepting loss, finding meaning in suffering. The transformation masks, the Deku, Goron, and Zora, forms Link can assume, force him to experience the world as these different races, to understand their perspectives and limitations. It's a literal embodiment of empathy, becoming the other to understand them. This theme of understanding through transformation appears in shamanic traditions worldwide, where practitioners would commune with animal spirits by symbolically becoming them. As Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom reveal more of Hyrule's cyclical history, with the kingdom falling to Calamity Ganon and being rebuilt over 10,000 years, we see the mythology expanding while maintaining its core. The cycle continues. Darkness rises, heroes awaken, balance is restored. Then time passes, and the cycle begins anew. But there's hope in this repetition. Each Link is different, shaped by his era and experiences. Each Zelda contributes her own wisdom to the eternal struggle. The kingdom of Hyrule, though it falls, always rises again. The people endure. Life continues. The cycle itself becomes not a curse, but a promise. No matter how dark things become, the hero will return, the princess will stand firm, and light will overcome darkness once more. This is mythology that acknowledges reality's harshness while insisting on hope's necessity. It's mythology for an uncertain age, where we know challenges will recur but believe they can be overcome. It's mythology that says the fight matters, even if it's never finally won, that each generation's courage creates space for the next generation's peace. Hyrule's eternal cycle reminds us that stories, real stories, don't end. They continue, evolving with each telling, the same yet different, like waves on an ocean, each one unique yet all part of the same eternal motion. Kirby appears to be Nintendo's simplest protagonist, a pink sphere with stubby arms and a cheerful smile, inhabiting a land called Dreamland on a peaceful planet named Popstar. He enjoys eating, napping in the sunshine, and helping his friends. The games are bright, the music is upbeat, and the difficulty is gentle. Kirby seems to be the antithesis of deep mythology. This is perhaps Nintendo's most clever deception, because beneath Kirby's adorable exterior lies some of the darkest, most philosophically complex mythology in gaming. The deeper you look into Kirby lore, the more you find cosmic horror, primordial entities, ancient civilizations, and questions about the nature of existence itself. Let's begin with Kirby himself. The official story states that Kirby blew in on a spring breeze to Dreamland. His origins are deliberately vague, almost dismissive. Yet the games, particularly their final bosses and pause screen descriptions, suggest something far more complex and unsettling. In Kirby Star Allies, the final true boss is Void, an entity described in the game's Japanese text as the origin of all matter, the source from which all things come. Void takes forms resembling both dark matter, the antagonist species that has plagued Kirby's universe, and Kirby himself. The implication is staggering. Kirby and the dark forces he fights share the same origin, are perhaps different manifestations of the same primal entity. The pause screen descriptions for Void are poetic and haunting. No telling if it's true, but according to ancient scrolls, Void Termina may rise again in other forms, depending on whether positive or negative energy is gathered. It seems this being of darkness will wander the galaxy until one day he is reborn into a new existence. When he returns, hopefully it will be as a friend. This suggests that Void, the primordial chaos from which all things come, can incarnate as different beings depending on the emotions and energy present at its birth. Fill it with negative energy, hatred, and despair, and it becomes Void Termina, the destroyer of worlds. Fill it with positive energy, love, and friendship, and it becomes Kirby. A being of pure innocence and joy, one who helps friends and protects the innocent. This is mythology operating at its deepest level. Kirby isn't simply a hero who fights evil. He's a manifestation of primordial chaos choosing to be good, darkness that elected to become light. His cheerful exterior isn't naivety, but rather an active choice toward positivity, a fundamental essence deciding what it wants to be. This recontextualizes everything about Kirby. His ability to copy powers by inhaling enemies isn't just a game mechanic, but a reflection of his nature as a being containing all possibilities. He can become anything, reflecting what he absorbs, because he's fundamentally connected to all existence. His friendship with Meta Knight, the mysterious masked swordsman, takes on new meaning when you consider that Meta Knight may be another Kirby-like entity, one who chose the path of the warrior rather than the innocent. The ancient scrolls mentioned in Void's description point to another fascinating element of Kirby mythology: the Ancients, a civilization that once spanned the galaxy and achieved incredible technological and magical mastery. The relics they left behind appear throughout Kirby games, from Stardream, the sentient supercomputer that sought to destroy organic life, to the lore Starcutter, a dimension-hopping ship, to Galactic Nova, a clockwork wish-granting comet. These ancients appear to have achieved such power that they could create life, manipulate dimensions, and grant wishes. Yet they vanished, leaving only their artifacts behind. Some lore suggests they were divided into magical and technological factions, eventually warring with each other and causing their own destruction. Others suggest they may have ascended to another plane of existence or were wiped out by their own creations. The Jambastian cult worshipped Void as a dark god, attempting to resurrect Void Termina to restore glory to their fallen civilization. Their leader, Highness, speaks in his battle of being scorned and forgotten, of studying dark magic, of being cast out by those who feared his power. This suggests the ancients weren't a unified civilization, but a complex society with different factions, beliefs, and agendas, whose conflicts may have had cosmic consequences. Dark matter, the recurring antagonist species in Kirby games, represents another piece of this cosmic puzzle. These single-eyed dark beings seek to spread darkness across the universe, possessing other creatures and turning worlds into realms of nightmare. Zero and Zero 2, the leaders of dark matter, are particularly disturbing, existing as giant eyeballs that bleed, whose defeat animations are grotesque and unsettling in games otherwise filled with cute imagery. The connection between dark matter, void, and Kirby creates a trinity of cosmic forces. Dark matter represents existence choosing darkness, void represents pure potential that can go either way, and Kirby represents existence choosing light. They're not separate species, but different manifestations of the same fundamental essence, suggesting that good and evil aren't opposing forces, but different choices the same entity can make. This is remarkably sophisticated philosophical territory for a game about a pink puffball eating cake. It suggests that morality isn't inherent, but chosen, that the same potential for darkness exists in all beings, and what matters is what we choose to do with that potential. Kirby's perpetual cheerfulness isn't innocence in the sense of ignorance, but rather an active, continuous choice toward positivity, despite being born from chaos. The various planets and locations in Kirby games each have their own mythological elements. Dreamland itself is located on Popstar, a planet whose very name suggests it's a place where dreams are primary, where the impossible is routine. The Fountain of Dreams, which appears in Kirby's adventure, produces dreams for all inhabitants of Dreamland. When it becomes corrupted, nightmares plague the land, suggesting that dreams in this universe are not mere mental phenomena, but actual forces that shape reality. Nightmare, the antagonist of Kirby's adventure, is literally made of bad dreams, a being of pure nightmare energy that seeks to control the Fountain of Dreams, and therefore control the very nature of reality in Dreamland. Defeating Nightmare isn't just about saving the day, but about protecting the boundary between dreams and waking, ensuring that nightmares remain contained. Halkandra, the setting of Kirby's return to Dreamland, is an ancient world filled with advanced technology and mysterious ruins. The lore Starcutter, a magical ship, originated here, as did the Master Crown, an artifact of immense power that corrupts its wearer, transforming them into a being of chaos. Magolor, who seemed a friendly ally, becomes Magolor's soul when fully corrupted by the crown, revealing the danger in seeking power without wisdom. The Master Crown's corruption mirrors the One Ring from Tolkien's mythology, an object of power that inevitably corrupts those who use it. But in Kirby lore, it seems the crown may be connected to dark matter or void energies, another manifestation of primordial chaos that promises power while delivering corruption. Shiverstar, which appears in Kirby 64, is perhaps the most unsettling location in the series. It's a frozen planet covered in ice and snow, featuring ruined cities, abandoned factories, and clear evidence of a human-like civilization that vanished. The cities have streets, buildings, and even what appears to be a shopping mall. The strong implication is that Shiverstar is Earth, frozen and lifeless, humanity extinct or fled, leaving only ruins behind. This sudden injection of post-apocalyptic horror into a cute game about a pink hero creates cognitive dissonance that makes it more disturbing. Kirby cheerfully explores the dead remains of what might be human civilization, suggesting his universe exists in a far future where Earth died long ago and new civilizations rose among the stars. Kirby and the Forgotten Land continues this theme, presenting a post-apocalyptic world that was once inhabited by humans or human-like beings. The Forgotten Land is clearly Earth or an Earth-like planet, with cities, highways, and shopping centers all overgrown and crumbling. The implication that humans vanished or evolved into something else, while Kirby's universe developed separately, creates a timeline both vast and melancholy. The beast pack that inhabits the Forgotten Land in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, led by Leongar and controlled by Fecto Forgo, adds another layer to Kirby mythology. Fecto Forgo is revealed to be an alien creature with immense psychic power, split into two beings, one physical and one spiritual. When reunited, it becomes Fecto Elfilis, a being powerful enough to open dimensional rifts and threatening to merge the Forgotten Land with Popstar. This reveals that Kirby's universe is filled with powerful alien species, ancient civilizations, and cosmic threats that make Kirby's cheerful adventures against King Dedede over stolen food seem almost trivial by comparison. Yet this is the point. Kirby's innocence and joy persist despite living in a universe filled with eldritch horrors and existential threats. His positivity isn't ignorance, but resilience. Galacta Knight, who appears in various games as a secret boss, represents another piece of the puzzle. Described as the greatest warrior in the galaxy, Galacta Knight was sealed away because his power was too dangerous. He's repeatedly fought by Meta Knight in various side modes and challenges, suggesting that Meta Knight and Galacta Knight may be the same species as Kirby, beings of immense power choosing different paths. Morpho Knight, a fusion of Galacta Knight and a mysterious butterfly that appears throughout the series, adds mystical dimensions to this lore. In Japanese descriptions, this butterfly is called the Butterfly of Paradise, suggesting it judges souls or guides them to the afterlife. When it absorbs Galacta Knight, creating Morpho Knight, it implies themes of death, rebirth, and transformation running through Kirby mythology. The recurring theme of ancient civilizations, powerful artifacts, and beings of immense power suggests Kirby's universe has a deep history, ages upon ages of civilizations rising and falling, creating wonders and horrors, with Kirby himself being the latest in a long line of cosmic entities shaping reality. What makes Kirby mythology fascinating is how it hides these depths beneath cheerful presentation. Children can enjoy Kirby games as simple, fun adventures about helping friends and eating food. Adults examining the lore discover cosmic horror, existential questions, and mythological complexity that rivals any mature game franchise. This duality mirrors how mythology actually functions. Folk tales that seem simple on the surface often contain profound truths underneath. Kirby's mythology operates the same way, accessible to all while revealing greater depth to those who look closer. The community surrounding Kirby lore is particularly interesting, spending countless hours analyzing pause screen descriptions, connecting hints across games, building theories about the ancients, the nature of Void, Kirby's true origin, and how all the pieces fit together. This active myth-making by fans mirrors how ancient myths evolved, with communities discussing, debating, and developing interpretations of the stories. Kirby's relationship with Void is the core mystery. If Void is the origin of all matter, and Kirby is a manifestation of Void born from positive energy, what does this mean for Kirby's identity? Is he aware of his origin? Does he know he's a primordial being choosing to be innocent and helpful? Or is his innocence genuine, unaware of the cosmic significance he carries? The games leave this deliberately ambiguous, allowing multiple interpretations. Kirby might be a cosmic being actively choosing positivity, making him deeply heroic. Or he might be genuinely innocent, unaware of his nature, making him authentically pure. Either interpretation works, and the mythology supports both. This ambiguity is itself mythological. In many traditions, the most powerful beings are paradoxes, simultaneously knowing and innocent, powerful and humble. The Buddha achieved enlightenment and maintained simplicity. Christ was fully divine and fully human. Kirby, in his own way, might be both cosmic entity and simple creature, containing multitudes while remaining singular. The fact that Kirby defeats cosmic horrors through friendship, teamwork, and positive energy rather than raw power sends a message about values. The ancient ancients, with all their technology, fell. The Jambastian cult, with its dark magic, was defeated. But Kirby, with his friends and his joy and his determination to help others, prevails. This suggests that power alone isn't enough, that community and compassion are strengths that outlast individual might. As Kirby games continue, the mythology expands. Each new game adds pieces to the puzzle, reveals new ancient civilizations, introduces new cosmic threats, and deepens the mystery of Kirby's nature. Yet through it all, Kirby remains himself, cheerful and helpful, and always ready for lunch. This is mythology that says darkness exists, cosmic horrors are real, the universe is vast and often frightening, but choosing joy and friendship and helping others matters regardless. It's mythology that acknowledges life's complexity while insisting on hope. It's mythology hidden in plain sight, wearing a cheerful mask that makes its depths all the more profound when discovered. Dreamland, beneath its sunny skies and gentle breezes, contains the weight of eons, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth of realities from chaos. And in this land, a pink sphere sleeps peacefully, dreaming simple dreams, containing infinite potential, choosing every day to be kind. Where Kirby hides cosmic horror beneath cheerful colors, Metroid wears its themes openly. This is Nintendo's darkest franchise, a science fiction epic about isolation, ancient civilizations, and the consequences of power. Yet it shares the same mythological depth as Nintendo's more colorful properties, perhaps even exceeding them in certain aspects. The Metroid series centers on Samus Aran, a bounty hunter who operates in the furthest reaches of the galaxy, often alone, exploring dead planets and fighting alien threats. But her story begins with tragedy, with fire and death, and a young girl's world ending in violence. Samus was born on an Earth colony called K2L. When she was young, space pirates raided the colony, led by the dragon-like alien Ridley. Her parents were killed, her home destroyed. Samus left as the sole survivor amid the burning ruins. This trauma defines her, shapes her entire existence, creates the isolated warrior she becomes. But Samus didn't die that day. The Chozo, an ancient avian species of incredible intelligence and power, found the child among the ashes. They took her to their planet Zebes, raising her as one of their own. They infused her with Chozo DNA, allowing her body to adapt to harsh environments and integrate with their technology. They trained her in combat and exploration. They gave her the power suit, their most sophisticated creation, an armor that responds to thought and grants incredible abilities. The Chozo are central to Metroid mythology, ancient beings who reached the heights of civilization then vanished, leaving behind ruins, artifacts, and questions. They were watchers, studying space and seeking to bring peace to the galaxy. But their long lives led to declining birth rates, and their civilization slowly faded, scattering across various planets, each colony taking different philosophical directions. On Talon 4, the Chozo established a society that deliberately rejected advanced technology, choosing instead to live in harmony with nature and develop spiritual powers. They built temples and meditated on the mysteries of existence. When a meteor containing phazon, a mutagenic substance, crashed onto their world, they sensed its malevolent nature, realizing it was not random debris, but a seed of corruption sent by some vast intelligence. The Chozo tried to contain the phazon, building temples and seals powered by artifacts, essentially creating a prison for the toxic energy. But phazon was insidious, corrupting them slowly, driving some Chozo mad, eventually transforming them into ghostly guardian entities that attack all intruders, unable to distinguish friend from foe. The Chozo on Talon 4 perished, but their warnings remained, carved into stone, left for a future savior they foresaw but would never meet. This element of prophecy runs through Chozo mythology. They possessed the ability to see possible futures, visions that guided their actions, but also filled them with dread. They foresaw calamities and disasters, including their own decline. They knew a hero would come, wearing their armor, wielding their weapons, completing what they had started. This hero was Samus, the human child they had raised as one of their own. The irony is profound. The Chozo achieved incredible knowledge and power, could see the future and manipulate time and space, yet they couldn't save themselves. Their decline was inevitable, their civilization doomed despite all their wisdom. But they could shape what came after, could prepare for the hero who would continue their mission of protecting the galaxy from darkness. The Metroids themselves, the franchise's namesake creatures, were created by the Chozo on planet SR388. These jellyfish-like organisms were engineered as the ultimate predator for X-parasites, horrifying creatures that could perfectly mimic anything they absorbed. The X-parasites threatened to spread across the galaxy, consuming all life, so the Chozo created something even more dangerous to hunt them. This is mythology about the dangers of creation, of playing God and losing control. The Metroids were meant to be controlled bioweapons, protectors that would destroy a greater threat, then be contained. Instead, they became their own menace, spreading and evolving, eventually falling into the hands of space pirates who weaponized them. Samus's first mission involves infiltrating the space pirate base on Zebes, her childhood home, now corrupted and militarized. She must destroy the Metroids being cloned there and defeat Mother Brain, an AI created by the Chozo that betrayed them, siding with the space pirates. The symbolic weight of returning to her childhood home, now corrupted beyond recognition, mirrors trauma survivors returning to sites of their pain. The ruins throughout Zebes, the Chozo statues holding power-ups, represent the adopted parents Samus lost still looking after her. Each upgrade she finds was left deliberately for her, gifts from her surrogate family across time. The power suit itself is the ultimate expression of their love, a protective shell that makes her powerful enough to survive in hostile spaces, a literal embodiment of parental protection. Her battle against Ridley on Zebes is deeply personal. This is the creature that killed her human parents, the monster from her nightmares given physical form. Defeating Ridley isn't just completing a mission, but confronting trauma, proving she's stronger than the darkness that took everything from her as a child. This theme of confronting the past recurs throughout Metroid. Samus repeatedly returns to familiar places transformed by time or disaster. She revisits Zebes in Super Metroid, finding it overrun with life since her last visit, nature reclaiming the mechanical. She returns to the space pirate frigate Orpheon in Prime, finding it devastated by Parasite Queen. She explores the derelict space station in Fusion, finding it corrupted by X-parasites that have absorbed her memories and equipment. Metroid Fusion presents perhaps the most horrifying scenario in the franchise. After being infected by X-parasites, Samus's power suit is removed, and she receives a vaccine created from the last Metroid, the infant that imprinted on her like a mother. This saves her life, but fundamentally changes her. She's now part Metroid, bearing the DNA of the species she was sent to exterminate. The X-parasites that infected her escaped containment, absorbed her removed suit, and created SA-X, an evil clone of Samus at full power. Throughout Fusion, Samus is hunted by this perfect version of herself, forced to flee and hide, using stealth rather than power, because she's no match for her own capabilities turned against her. This is mythology about identity and transformation. What makes Samus herself? Is it her DNA, now mixed with Chozo and Metroid? Is it her power suit, now copied by enemies? Is it her skills and experience, her determination to protect the innocent? Fusion forces these questions, making Samus confront what she truly is beneath the armor. The reveal that the Galactic Federation, the supposed good guys Samus works for, were secretly breeding Metroids on the station adds moral complexity. The Federation, fearing the X-parasites, wanted their own bioweapons, despite knowing the dangers. They repeated the Chozo's mistake, believing they could control what couldn't be controlled. Samus's decision at the end of Fusion to destroy the research station, disobeying Federation orders and eliminating the X-parasites forever, represents her rejection of institutional authority in favor of personal moral judgment. She knows the X are too dangerous to exist, regardless of their scientific value. She knows Metroids, despite saving her life, are too dangerous to be weaponized. She makes the hard choice, destroying everything and becoming a fugitive. This moral complexity distinguishes Metroid from simpler good versus evil narratives. The Federation isn't evil, but they make terrible decisions out of fear. The space pirates are clearly antagonistic, but they're also desperate survivors seeking power to ensure their species' continuation. Even Ridley, the most straightforwardly villainous character, is a creature acting according to his nature, predatory and cruel, but not incomprehensible. The Luminoth, an alien species Samus encounters in Metroid Prime 2. Echoes provide another example of fallen civilization. They achieved great heights, building beautiful cities and developing advanced technology. When their planet was struck by a meteor containing dark matter, it split into light and dark dimensions, with the dark version slowly consuming the light. The Luminoth fought desperately, entering hibernation to preserve their numbers while warriors defended their temples. Samus arrives to find the Luminoth nearly extinct, most in eternal sleep, their world balanced on the edge of annihilation. She must restore the planetary energy, defeat the Ing creatures threatening the light world, and, essentially save the Luminoth from extinction. The gratitude of the remaining Luminoth, the restoration of their world, provides rare moments of hope in an otherwise bleak series. The Alimbics, encountered in Metroid Prime Hunters, were another advanced civilization that fell. They sealed their essence into artifacts and created complex traps to prevent their powerful technology from falling into the wrong hands. Like the Chozo and Luminoth, they achieved greatness, then vanished, leaving only ruins and warnings. This pattern of ancient civilizations rising and falling mirrors historical cycles, but also serves as warning. Intelligence and technology aren't enough to ensure survival. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. All civilizations, no matter how advanced, are temporary. What matters is what legacy they leave, whether they use their final moments to help or harm those who come after. Planet Zebes itself undergoes transformation across the series. First seen as a space pirate base, then revisited in Super Metroid, where it's filled with life and nature reclaiming technology, and finally destroyed completely when Samus activates the planet's self-destruct sequence. The destruction of her childhood home, even corrupted as it was, represents finality, the ultimate severing of connection to the past. The baby Metroid in Super Metroid deserves special attention. After destroying all other Metroids on SR-388, Samus encounters a Metroid hatching from an egg. Instead of attacking, it imprints on her, believing she's its mother. Samus can't kill it, taking it to Ceres space station for scientific study. When space pirates steal the hatchling, Samus pursues them to Zebes, where she discovers Ridley and Mother Brain have rebuilt their operation. The final battle against Mother Brain seems hopeless, Samus near death, her suit destroyed by the monstrous AI's attacks. Then the baby Metroid intervenes, draining Mother Brain's energy and restoring Samus, sacrificing itself to save its adopted mother. This is mythology about cycles breaking. Metroids were created to be weapons, to destroy and consume. The baby Metroid chose differently, choosing to protect rather than destroy, to give life rather than drain it. Its sacrifice redeems its entire species, proving that even beings created for destruction can choose something better. Samus's grief and rage after the baby's death fuel her final assault on Mother Brain, the hyper beam granted by the Metroid's sacrifice allowing her to overcome the enemy that nearly killed her. The catharsis of this moment, of avenging the innocent creature that saved her, makes it one of gaming's most powerful emotional sequences. The loneliness of the Metroid series can't be overstated. Samus explores vast, empty spaces, often without speaking, without companions, just her thoughts and the ambient sounds of hostile environments. This isolation isn't a limitation of older hardware, but a deliberate design choice. The series wants you to feel the emptiness of space, the loneliness of exploration, the vulnerability of being one person against entire ecosystems of threats. Yet this loneliness has purpose. Samus's isolation makes her resilient, teaches her self-reliance, forces her to be strong. Her tragic past could have broken her. Instead, it forged her into something unbreakable. She's a survivor in the deepest sense, someone who has lost everything multiple times yet continues forward. The recent Metroid Dread adds new dimensions to the mythology by introducing living Chozo, revealing that some survived. Raven Beak, the game's antagonist, represents a warrior faction of Chozo, those who rejected pacifism and believed in conquest. His clan, the Mockin, nearly destroyed the more peaceful Thoha clan that created the Metroids. This complicates Chozo mythology. They weren't uniformly wise and peaceful, but had factions, philosophies in conflict, their own darkness and violence. Samus was raised by the Thoha, the more peaceful group, but she carries DNA from both clans, making her literally a fusion of different Chozo philosophies. Ravenbeak's plan to use Samus's Metroid DNA to create an army of ultimate warriors represents another attempt to weaponize life, to create controlled destruction. His defeat by Samus proves that beings created as weapons, whether Metroids or Samus herself, can exceed their designed purpose, can choose their own path regardless of what their creators intended. The series' mythology ultimately centers on agency and choice. Samus was created by the Chozo, trained as a warrior, given powers beyond normal humans, sent to complete missions. But she's not a tool or a weapon. She's a person who makes her own decisions, who disobeys orders when morality demands it, who chooses compassion even when it's strategically foolish. Metroid's mythology is about survival in hostile spaces, about carrying loss without being destroyed by it, about civilizations that rose to incredible heights, then fell into dust. It's about ancient wisdom that couldn't prevent catastrophe, but could prepare for what came after. It's about being alone in vast spaces, but finding strength in that solitude rather than despair. And it's about a woman in armor, carrying the hopes of extinct civilizations, the DNA of multiple species, the trauma of witnessing her worlds burn, who keeps moving forward, keeps protecting the innocent, keeps fighting darkness, not because she must, but because she chooses to. In the empty corridors of dead planets, surrounded by the ruins of those who came before, Samus Aran endures. The silence doesn't break her. The loneliness doesn't defeat her. She is the last legacy of the Chozo, the adopted daughter of a vanished race, continuing their mission of protecting the galaxy, long after they disappeared into history. The Pokemon universe presents mythology not as ancient history, but as living reality. Gods don't just exist in tales, but walk among mortals, albeit often disguised or dormant. Creation itself is recent enough that legends about it persist in religious traditions. The boundary between myth and reality is porous because the subjects of myths are real, tangible, catchable beings. At the apex of Pokemon mythology stands Arceus, the original one, born from an egg that emerged from chaos before existence itself. This creation story mirrors countless real-world mythologies, the cosmic egg appearing in Greek tradition as the Orphic egg, in Hindu cosmology as Hiranyagarbha, in Chinese mythology as Hundun. Arceus's egg emerging from void into being represents the fundamental mystery at reality's heart, how something came from nothing. Upon hatching, Arceus shaped the universe using what legends call its 1,000 arms, though Arceus has no visible arms. This is understood as metaphorical, referring either to omnipresence or to Arceus's move judgment, which manifests as countless beams of light. The number 1,000 itself is symbolic, appearing across mythologies to represent completeness or infinity, suggesting Arceus's creative power is limitless. Arceus created 3 beings from its own essence: Dialga, who became time itself; Palkia, who became space; and Giratina, who became antimatter or distortion. These form the creation trio, fundamental aspects of reality given consciousness and will. Dialga's existence means time flows. Palkia's existence means space extends. Giratina's existence means reality has inverse or hidden dimensions. The relationship between these 3 is complex. Dialga and Palkia exist in relative balance, time and space coexisting as the fabric of reality. Giratina, however, was banished to the distortion world for being too violent or chaotic. This hidden realm exists as reality's inverse, where physics operates differently, where causality is uncertain. Giratina's exile mirrors various mythological traditions where rebellious deities or titans are imprisoned in underworlds or outer darkness. Yet Giratina isn't evil. It's simply different, representing aspects of reality considered dangerous or incomprehensible. Its role as guardian of the distortion world proves important when Dialga and Palkia's conflict threatens normal reality. Giratina intervenes, pulling the conflict into its realm where the damage can be contained. The banished god becomes the unexpected savior, a common mythological theme. After creating these cosmic forces, Arceus formed the Lake Guardians, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. These beings represent knowledge, emotion, and willpower respectively, the fundamental aspects of consciousness. They reside in lakes on what will become the Sinnoh region, sacred pools connecting the mental and physical realms. The Lake Guardians are crucial to reality's stability. Without Uxie, there is no knowledge, no learning, no memory. Without Mesprit, there is no emotion, no joy or sorrow, no connection. Without Azelf, there is no willpower, no determination, no ability to choose. So, together, they represent what separates conscious beings from mere matter, what makes souls possible. This is sophisticated theological territory. Arceus created the physical universe through Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, then created consciousness through the Lake Guardians. Only after establishing both matter and mind does life begin to flourish. This suggests Pokemon mythology views consciousness not as emergent from matter, but as fundamental as space and time, woven into reality's structure from the beginning. The role of other legendary Pokemon in creation varies. Kyogre and Grudon, representing sea and land, engaged in primordial battles that shaped Earth's geography. Their conflict was so destructive that Rayquaza, representing the sky, had to intervene repeatedly, establishing a cycle of conflict and mediation that continues in the present. This trinity of land, sea, and sky appears in many creation myths. The Babylonian Enuma Elish speaks of Tiamat, the sea, battling Marduk, who creates land from her corpse. Norse mythology has the giant Ymir, whose body becomes the earth, sky, and sea. The Pokemon version makes these forces ongoing rather than historical, suggesting creation isn't finished but continually negotiated between primal forces. Xerneas and Yveltal represent another fundamental duality: life and death. Xerneas grants vitality, its awakening bringing life to barren landscapes. Yveltal absorbs life energy, its presence associated with destruction and endings. They alternate between activity and slumber, taking turns shaping the world. When one wakes, the other sleeps, maintaining balance between creation and destruction. This cycle mirrors natural patterns, seasons alternating, life flourishing, then dormant. Pokemon mythology doesn't see death as evil, but as necessary, part of the eternal cycle. Yveltal isn't a villain, but a natural force, as essential as Xerneas despite being more frightening. The role of humans in Pokemon mythology is fascinating. Unlike many creation myths where humans are special or central, Pokemon mythology treats humans as one species among many. We're not above Pokemon, but alongside them, partners and companions rather than masters. The ancient relationship between humans and Pokemon is described as one of equals, working together, sharing lives. The invention of Pokeballs, the technology allowing Pokemon to be caught and stored, represents a shift in this relationship. Some in-universe philosophers question whether catching Pokemon is ethical, whether Pokeballs are tools of partnership or subjugation. The games don't take a firm stance, suggesting this ethical ambiguity is deliberate. Yet the games consistently show that strong bonds between trainers and Pokemon produce better results than control through force. Team Rocket, Team Galactic, and other villainous organizations that treat Pokemon as mere tools invariably fail. The protagonist, who treats Pokemon as friends and partners, succeeds. This suggests the mythology favors mutual respect over dominance. The concept of mega evolution adds interesting wrinkles to this mythology. Certain Pokemon can temporarily transform into more powerful forms through the bond with their trainers, channeling energy through stones that contain primordial power. This transformation requires deep trust and connection, impossible with Pokemon who don't trust their trainers. Mega Evolution's origins are mysterious. The stones themselves are said to be meteorite fragments, suggesting cosmic origins. The transformation is described as intensely painful for the Pokemon, requiring immense willpower to endure. This suggests power comes with cost, that becoming stronger means accepting suffering. Some Mega Evolutions change the Pokemon's personality, making gentle Pokemon aggressive or calm Pokemon irritable. This temporary loss of self in exchange for power mirrors various myths about transformation's dangers, the risk of losing your essential nature in pursuit of strength. Dynamax and Gigantamax, phenomena in the Galar region, stem from energy leaked by Eternatus, an alien Pokemon that crashed into the region millennia ago. This energy, called Galar particles, allows Pokemon to grow to enormous size, though only in specific locations called power spots. The alien origin of Dynamax energy is significant. It suggests that some of the Pokemon world's phenomena come from beyond their reality, from cosmic sources that crashed into their world and became part of it. Eternatus itself is described as absorbing energy to sustain itself, growing destructively large when awakened. The Darkest Day, Galar's ancient catastrophe caused by Eternatus's rampage, was ended by two Pokemon wielding a sword and shield. Zacian and Zamazenta, who became legends and eventually fell into slumber in a sacred forest. Their awakening in the present to face Eternatus's return completes the cycle, suggesting that some heroes rest between ages, waiting to be needed again. This pattern of legendary heroes sleeping until needed appears across mythologies. King Arthur sleeping until Britain's darkest hour, Barbarossa waiting beneath the mountain, Fionn MacCumhail slumbering until Ireland calls. The Pokemon world follows this tradition, its greatest heroes cyclic rather than singular, returning when darkness threatens. The various regions in Pokemon games each have their own mythologies, often inspired by the real-world locations they're based on. Sinnoh, Japan's Hokkaido, has the Arceus creation myth and lake guardians. Unova, New York, has the Dragon Tao trio and themes about truth and ideals. Kalos, France, has life and death legendaries, and the mysterious Zygarde cells maintaining ecological balance. Alola's mythology, based on Hawaiian culture, treats the island guardians as deity spirits protecting each island. They're explicitly called guardian deities, suggesting a more religious relationship than typical legendary Pokemon. The Alolan people have rituals and traditions centered on respecting these deities, making Alola's relationship with legendaries more overtly spiritual. Ultra Beasts, creatures from other dimensions that occasionally enter the Pokemon world, add multiversal complexity to the mythology. These beings aren't Pokemon in the traditional sense, but entities from realities with different natural laws. Their presence is destabilizing, their existence threatening the fabric of the world. This introduces the idea that the Pokemon world is one reality among infinite others, that the cosmos contains countless dimensions with their own rules, inhabitants, and threats. The boundary between realities is fragile, occasionally breached through natural rifts or ambitious scientists experimenting with forces they don't understand. Mew presents an interesting contradiction to Arceus's role as creator. Mew is described as containing the DNA of all Pokemon, suggesting it's their common ancestor. Yet Arceus created the universe. How do these claims reconcile? The most common interpretation is that Arceus created the fundamental forces and structure of reality. Then, life evolved naturally within that structure. Mew would be the first evolved life form, the common ancestor from which all modern Pokemon descended through normal evolutionary processes. This allows both scientific evolution and divine creation to be true simultaneously. Alternatively, Mew might contain all Pokemon DNA because it was created by Arceus as the template for all future life, a genetic seed from which diversity would emerge. Under this interpretation, Mew is Arceus's most important creation after the fundamental forces, the first living thing designed to give rise to all others. The artificial Pokemon add another dimension to the mythology. Mewtwo, cloned from Mew through human technology and genetic manipulation, raises questions about the nature of creation and identity. Is a cloned being real? Does it have a soul? Is creating life through science fundamentally different from life emerging naturally? Mewtwo's existential crisis in the first Pokemon movie addresses these questions. It wonders whether it's real or just a copy, whether its artificial origin makes it less than natural Pokemon. The conclusion, that it's real because it exists and thinks and feels, affirms the essential dignity of all conscious beings regardless of origin. Type, Null and its evolution. Silvally represent humanity's attempt to create an Arceus-like being, combining DNA from all Pokemon types to make the perfect artificial Pokemon. These experiments failed initially, the creatures too unstable, requiring control helmets to dampen their power. Only through forming bonds with trainers do they evolve into Sylvali, suggesting that connection and trust stabilize what technology alone couldn't. The parallel to Arceus is deliberate. Sylvali's ability, RKS system, is pronounced Arceus system in Japanese. Its unique move, multi-attack, mirrors Arceus's judgment. Humanity tried to recreate God and managed to create something impressive but ultimately lesser, a shadow of the original. This suggests some things can't be replicated, that true divinity or ultimate power can't be manufactured. Regional variants of Pokemon, like Alolan or Galarian forms, show how species adapt to different environments, developing new types and abilities. This is evolution in action, visible and rapid, suggesting the Pokemon world's biology is more fluid and responsive than our own. Pokemon aren't fixed, but constantly adapting, changing, becoming new things while retaining essential identity. This fluid identity connects to larger themes in Pokemon mythology. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes. Species evolve, individuals grow, the world itself shifts constantly. Yet core elements persist. Love remains valuable. Friendship matters. Connection between beings transcends transformation. The villainous teams in Pokemon games often have mythologically significant goals. Team Galactic wants to use Dialga and Palkia to destroy the universe and create a new one without strife. Team Plasma believes humans and Pokemon should be separated for ethical reasons. Team Flare wants to eliminate most humans and Pokemon to preserve resources for those remaining. These goals, while extreme, come from recognizable impulses. Wanting to eliminate suffering, even if it means destroying existence. Believing separation is better than potentially exploitative relationships. Seeking to prevent resource depletion through population control. The villains aren't entirely wrong in identifying problems. Their solutions are just catastrophically disproportionate. This moral complexity makes Pokemon mythology richer. Evil isn't simple malice, but misguided idealism. Understandable desires taken to destructive extremes. Defeating these teams isn't just about power, but about proving a better way exists, that problems can be solved without destroying what's good. The player's journey in each Pokemon game follows mythological patterns. Young person leaves home, faces challenges, grows stronger, befriends allies, confronts darkness, saves the world, becomes champion. This is the hero's journey translated into turn-based battles and friendship mechanics. But unlike many hero myths, the Pokemon protagonist isn't special by birth. They're not chosen ones or demigods. They're ordinary children who become extraordinary through effort, kindness, and bonds formed along the way. This democratization of heroism suggests that anyone can matter, anyone can make a difference, regardless of origin or destiny. The multiplayer aspects of Pokemon, trading and battling with others, create a shared mythology. Players worldwide are all in the same universe, catching the same species, facing the same legends. The Pokemon transferred between games carry their history with them, their original, trainers' names preserved, creating lineages and stories that span the real world. This interactivity makes Pokemon mythology unique among Nintendo franchises. You're not just learning about this world, but actively participating in it, creating your own stories within its framework. Your specific Pikachu, the one you caught and trained, exists nowhere else. It's unique, part of the mythology now, carrying your specific journey within the larger cosmic story. The Pokemon world is one where mythology is lived experience, where gods are real and catchable, where the forces that shaped creation can be battled and befriended. It's mythology that says the sacred and mundane coexist, that divinity walks among us, that the extraordinary can be found through patience and Pokeballs. Understanding Nintendo's mythology requires understanding the philosophy that creates it. This isn't about corporate strategy or market positioning, but about a fundamental approach to design and creativity that makes Nintendo's worlds distinct from their competitors. The phrase lateral thinking with withered technology, coined by Gunpei Yokoi, encapsulates Nintendo's approach. Rather than pursuing cutting-edge graphics or processing power, Nintendo looks at existing, mature technologies and finds new ways to combine them. The Game Boy used LCD calculator screens when competitors offered color displays. The Wii used accelerometers when competitors pushed for photorealism. The Switch is a tablet with controllers when others offered powerful home consoles. This philosophy creates interesting creative constraints. Unable to compete with raw power, Nintendo focuses on innovative gameplay, on novel interactions, on making familiar things feel fresh. These constraints breed creativity, forcing designers to find elegance and simplicity rather than brute force solutions. Shigeru Miyamoto's design philosophy complements this technical approach. He famously draws inspiration not from other games, but from everyday experiences. Exploring caves near his childhood home inspired Zelda's dungeons. Watching his children play led to Nintendogs. Trying to get healthy inspired Wii Fit. This grounding in lived experience makes Nintendo games feel authentic despite their fantasy. Mario's jump physics, refined through countless iterations, captures something essential about momentum and weight that feels right even though it's completely unrealistic. Link's exploration of Hyrule captures the joy of discovering a hidden pond in the woods, that moment of finding something secret and beautiful. Kirby's inhalation captures the satisfaction of consuming something whole. Nintendo seeks emotional experiences rather than technical achievements. As Miyamoto has said, "When I create a game, I try to focus more on the emotions that the player experiences during gameplay." This emotional focus appears in how games teach without tutorials, letting players discover mechanics naturally. In how failure is gentle, rarely punishing experimentation. In how music and sound design create atmosphere as much as visuals. The company's emphasis on accessibility stems from this philosophy. Games should be playable by anybody, regardless of age or skill level. Controls should be intuitive. Core gameplay should be simple to understand, but difficult to master. This inclusive design doesn't mean games are easy, but that they welcome everyone, allowing each player to engage at their own level. This philosophy produces games that feel timeless. Because Nintendo doesn't chase graphical realism, their games age differently than competitors. A realistic 2005 shooter looks dated now. Super Mario Sunshine, also from that era, remains visually charming. Art direction and stylization outlast technical achievement. The characters Nintendo creates become icons because they're simple and expressive. Mario's design can be recognized in a few pixels or as a detailed 3D model. Kirby works equally well as 2D sprite or 3D rendering. These designs are archetypal, capturing essential characteristics without unnecessary detail. They're cartoony in the best sense, exaggerated and clear and memorable. Nintendo's relationship with nostalgia is complex. The company is famous for revisiting its classic franchises, releasing new Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon games regularly. Some critics call this conservative or repetitive, but Nintendo views it differently. They're not recycling, but evolving, each new game asking what else these characters and worlds can do. Breath of the Wild radically reimagined Zelda while maintaining its essential identity. Super Mario Odyssey took Mario to new realms while preserving what makes Mario games special. Pokémon Legends. Arceus experimented with open-world mechanics while staying true to catching and battling creatures. These aren't stale rehashes, but thoughtful evolutions, respecting tradition while embracing innovation. This balance between honoring the past and exploring the future creates what some call creative nostalgia. The games feel familiar yet fresh, comforting yet surprising. They tap into memories of previous titles while creating new experiences worth remembering. This is why someone can play their 15th Mario game and still find joy in it, still discover new things, still feel that spark of wonder. The music contributes enormously to this mythological feeling. Koji Kondo's themes for Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda are among the most recognized melodies in the world. They're simple enough to whistle, complex enough to orchestrate beautifully, emotionally resonant enough to carry decades of memory and association. When you hear the Zelda theme, you don't just hear music. You hear adventure, mystery, heroism. When you hear the Mario theme, you hear joy, playfulness, determined optimism. These melodies have become inseparable from the mythologies they represent, audio symbols that instantly transport listeners to these worlds. Nintendo's music philosophy mirrors their gameplay philosophy. Make something simple that people can remember and hum, then build complexity on that foundation. The core melodies are memorable, but full arrangements add depth, variations, and emotional shading. This creates music that works on multiple levels, enjoyable whether you're casually playing or deeply engaged. The company's approach to storytelling also reflects their mythological thinking. Nintendo doesn't typically create games with complex plots or elaborate dialogue. Their stories are often simple: save the princess, defeat the villain, collect the things. But simplicity isn't shallowness. These archetypal stories work because they tap into fundamental narrative patterns that resonate across cultures and ages. Moreover, Nintendo tells stories through gameplay as much as cutscenes. The environmental storytelling in Breath of the Wild, where ruined structures and ancient technology tell of past catastrophes without explicit explanation. The way Metroid creates atmosphere through isolation and ambient sound. The way Kirby's cheerful art style masks genuinely disturbing lore hidden in pause screens. These are sophisticated narrative techniques dressed in accessible packaging. The company's willingness to take creative risks, even with beloved franchises, shows remarkable confidence. They'll radically change Mario or Zelda formula because they trust their core understanding of what makes these characters work. They'll experiment with unusual concepts like Luigi's Mansion, or Pikmin, or Splatoon, knowing that even if they fail commercially, they'll learn valuable lessons. This experimental spirit comes from Nintendo's unique corporate culture. The company began making Hanafuda, playing cards, in the late 1800s, diversifying into toys and games throughout the 20th century. This history of adaptation and innovation is embedded in their identity. They're not a traditional tech company, but a toy company that happens to make electronic games. This toy-making heritage shows in their hardware design. Controllers feel good to hold. Systems are durable. The tactile experience matters. The Switch's satisfying click when Joy-Cons attach, the Wii Remote's comfortable grip, the DS's stylus providing physical interaction with digital content, all demonstrate attention to the physicality of play. The Nintendo difference isn't about specs or graphics. It's about philosophy, about approaching game design as craft, about respecting players by creating experiences that are accessible yet deep, simple yet sophisticated, nostalgic yet innovative. It's about understanding that games are fundamentally about creating joy, about providing spaces where imagination can flourish, where challenge is rewarding rather than punishing, where the journey matters as much as the destination. This philosophy creates games that become folklore. Children who played Super Mario Bros. In 1985 now share it with their own children, creating multi-generational connections. Adults who explored Hyrule on Nintendo 64 returned to explore it again on Switch, finding both familiar comfort and new wonder. These aren't just products, but cultural touchstones, shared experiences that transcend their commercial origins. Nintendo's mythologies work because they're built on this foundation of thoughtful design, emotional resonance, and respect for players. The company doesn't just make games. They create worlds worth believing in, characters worth loving, experiences worth remembering. They understand that the deepest magic isn't in photorealistic graphics or complex mechanics, but in the feeling of wonder, the spark of joy, the sense that anything is possible in these imagined spaces. There's something profound about how Nintendo's worlds exist in our memories. They occupy a peculiar space in consciousness, simultaneously personal and universal, private dreams and shared mythology. The green fields of Hyrule, the floating islands of Dreamland, the Mushroom Kingdom's blue skies, these places feel real in ways that surpass their pixelated origins. Memory in video games operates differently than other media. A movie watched decades ago exists as observed events, things you saw happen. A book read years back lingers as images your mind constructed while reading. But a game you played long ago exists as things you did, actions you took, challenges you overcame. The memory is embodied, tied to hands moving controllers, eyes tracking patterns, mind solving problems. Nintendo's genius lies in creating games that produce particularly vivid memories. The design philosophy emphasizing accessible mechanics and emotional experiences means more people can engage deeply, creating stronger memory formations. The bright colors, distinctive music, and simple yet effective art direction make these worlds easily recalled. The satisfaction of mastering mechanics and overcoming challenges creates positive associations that last decades. But there's more to it than good design. Nintendo's worlds possess what we might call mythological persistence, the quality of myths to remain culturally alive across generations through retelling and reinterpretation. Just as Greek myths adapted through Roman retellings, medieval romances, and modern reinterpretations while maintaining core identities, Nintendo's franchises evolve across games and decades while remaining essentially themselves. This persistence comes partly from Nintendo's conservative approach to their core franchises. Mario remains recognizable from his 1985 debut to today. Link's essential design stays consistent even as details change. Pikachu is eternally Pikachu. This visual and mechanical consistency creates continuity that strengthens mythological resonance. But it also comes from how these characters and worlds tap into universal patterns. Mario is the everyman hero, unprepossessing but capable, cheerful in the face of adversity. Link is the reluctant champion, called to adventure, facing darkness to protect others. Kirby is the innocent wanderer, helping friends through simple kindness. These are archetypal patterns that appear across cultures because they reflect fundamental human experiences and aspirations. The locations in Nintendo games often feel more real than more realistic game settings. You can close your eyes and visualize Hyrule Field, the exact shade of its grass, the way music swells when you first enter from Kokiri Forest. You can hear the underwater theme from Super Mario Bros., feel the tension of timer running low. These sense memories are vivid, precise, carrying emotional weight. This vividness comes from how Nintendo designs spaces to be memorable. Each area has distinct characteristics, visual identity, and emotional tone. You remember Dire Docks, because it feels different from Jolly Roger Bay, despite both being water levels. You remember the Forest Temple and the Fire Temple as completely distinct experiences. The level design creates spatial memory, mental maps that persist long after you stop playing. The secrets hidden in Nintendo games deepen these memories. Finding a hidden path in Zelda, discovering a warp zone in Mario, encountering a rare Pokémon, these moments of discovery create particularly strong memories because they feel personal. You found this. Not everyone does. It's a secret shared between you and the game. This sense of secrets creates the feeling that there's always more to discover, that these worlds have hidden depths beyond what's obvious. Even in games you've completed, there's a sense that mysteries remain, encouraging return visits, deepening investment in these spaces. The way Nintendo games reward exploration strengthens this. Rather than punishing players for straying from the main path, Nintendo games fill their worlds with rewards for curious players. Extra lives, power-ups, heart pieces, hidden areas, all reward the player who takes time to look carefully, who tries jumping off the path to see what's there. This encourages a different relationship with game spaces than more linear designs. Instead of rushing to the next objective, players wander, explore, experiment. This unhurried exploration creates richer memories because more time is spent engaging with the environment, creating more mental connections, more associative links. The music plays a crucial role in memory formation. Melodies act as mnemonic devices, each tune associated with specific locations, emotional states, or gameplay moments. Hearing Gerudo Valley's theme instantly transports you to that desert location, complete with sensory details your mind has preserved. Hearing the Pokémon Center healing jingle brings back hundreds of visits to these safe spaces across different games. This is why Nintendo's music, despite often being simple chiptune melodies, remains so beloved and frequently arranged. The tunes are inseparable from the memories, from the experiences they accompanied. They're sonic keys that unlock entire worlds of association and feeling. The social aspect of Nintendo games creates shared memories that strengthen mythological power. People who grew up in the era of a single-player gaming still remember playing with siblings and friends, taking turns, giving advice, watching each other play. These shared experiences create communal memory, stories you can swap with others who were there or had similar experiences. Modern online multiplayer creates different but equally strong shared memories. Playing Splatoon matches, trading Pokémon, exploring Minecraft worlds together on Switch, these create stories involving real people in virtual spaces. The lines between game memory and social memory blur, strengthening both. The way Nintendo's games are structured encourages replay, creating what we might call layered memories. Your first experience with Ocarina of Time is different from later playthroughs after you know the secrets and story. But both memories coexist, early confusion and wonder alongside later mastery and recognition. These layers create richness, depth of relationship with these worlds. Some Nintendo memories become cultural touchstones, shared experiences that define generations. The excitement of getting a Nintendo 64 for Christmas, the first time seeing Mario in 3 dimensions, the feeling of pulling the Master Sword, the moment Aerith... Wait, wrong company. The shock of Samus's gender reveal. These moments are individually experienced but collectively remembered, creating a shared mythology. The preservation of old games through re-releases, remasters, and emulation means new generations can have similar experiences to older ones. A child playing Super Mario World in 2025 has access to the same experience from 90, creating connections across decades. The games become timeless in a literal sense, existing outside their original temporal context. But there's also nostalgia's role to consider. Memories of childhood gaming are colored by the emotions of that time, by the freedom of youth, the wonder of new experiences, the lack of adult responsibilities. We remember not just the games, but who we were when playing them, what our lives were like, who we played with, where we lived. This nostalgic dimension makes Nintendo's worlds powerful because they become repositories for personal history. Hyrule contains your memories of discovering it. The Mushroom Kingdom holds your childhood summers. These places in imaginary worlds carry real emotional weight, real significance to personal identity. Yet Nintendo's worlds resist being pure nostalgia. They continue evolving, offering new experiences, preventing complete crystallization into how things used to be. This keeps them alive rather than museum pieces. You can return to Hyrule and find it changed, updated, reimagined, while still being fundamentally Hyrule. The architecture of these virtual spaces matters, too. Nintendo's level designers are masters of their craft, creating spaces that are beautiful, functional, and memorable. The way Peach's castle in Mario 64 is organized, with paintings leading to distinct worlds, the interconnected structure of Metroid's environments, the vast openness of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. These are carefully crafted spaces that reward spatial thinking and memory. These virtual architectures influence how we think about space in general. People who grew up playing 3D Nintendo games often have enhanced spatial reasoning and mental rotation abilities. The games trained these cognitive skills through play, through navigating complex three-dimensional environments and solving spatial puzzles. But beyond practical cognitive benefits, these spaces influence our imaginative lives. They provide templates for how magical worlds can work, what adventures might look like, how heroism manifests. Children playing pretend incorporate elements from these games, acting out similar scenarios, creating their own variations on these themes. The way Nintendo presents challenges influences how players think about problems. Puzzles in Zelda teach lateral thinking, considering how different items or abilities might solve obstacles. Mario's level design teaches reading patterns and timing. Pokémon battles teach strategy and resource management. These aren't just game mechanics, but ways of thinking that transfer to other contexts. The emotional architecture of Nintendo games is equally sophisticated. The way tension builds through music and level design before boss battles. The relief and triumph of victory. The quiet moments of exploration between challenges. The bittersweet endings that satisfy while leaving room for imagination. These emotional journeys shape how players experience and remember these games. There's also the physical architecture of Nintendo hardware to consider. The shape of controllers, the layout of buttons, the tactile feedback all contribute to the experience and memory. The way a GameCube controller fits in your hands is part of the memory of playing Wind Waker. The satisfying snap of a cartridge into a Nintendo 64 is part of Ocarina of Time's memory. This multisensory nature of the memory, visual, auditory, tactile, emotional, spatial, makes Nintendo experiences particularly vivid and lasting. They engage multiple memory systems simultaneously, creating redundant pathways for recall and stronger overall retention. The communities that form around Nintendo games contribute to the mythological persistence. Fan art, fan fiction, speedruns, challenge runs, theories, and discussions keep these worlds alive beyond the games themselves. Each interpretation, each creative work inspired by these games adds to the mythology, expanding it beyond what Nintendo alone creates. This collaborative myth-making mirrors how traditional myths evolved. Homer didn't invent all Greek mythology. He synthesized and shaped existing stories. Shakespeare drew from existing tales, adding his interpretation. Nintendo provides the foundation, but the community expands, interprets, and keeps these mythologies vital and evolving. The way Nintendo respects players contributes to positive memories. Deaths aren't overly punishing. Games rarely feel unfair. Difficulty comes from mastering mechanics, not from arbitrariness or randomness. This creates frustration without resentment, challenge without bitterness. The memories are of struggles overcome rather than of being tormented by cruel design. As time passes, these virtual worlds take on an almost sacred quality in memory. They're not just games played, but worlds visited, experiences that shaped who we became. They're part of our personal mythology, the stories we tell about our lives, the reference points for joy and wonder and challenge and accomplishment. And this is perhaps Nintendo's greatest achievement, creating spaces that feel truly magical, not through photorealistic graphics or complex mechanics, but through thoughtful design, emotional resonance, and respect for the player. These are spaces built not just from code and art, but from understanding what makes play meaningful, what makes worlds memorable, what makes experiences lasting. The architecture of memory they create is sturdy and beautiful, built to last, capable of supporting the weight of our associations and feelings. These worlds exist now not just in hardware and software, but in millions of minds, personal and shared, remembered and reimagined, as real as any place ever is. Understanding why Nintendo's worlds feel like dreams requires examining what draws us back to them repeatedly, across decades and life changes. These aren't games we play once and forget, but experiences we return to, places we revisit, stories we retell. Part of this return is comfort. In uncertain times, familiar worlds offer refuge. Loading up a Mario game feels like visiting an old friend, entering a space where the rules are known, where challenges are fair, where good ultimately prevails. This isn't escapism in a negative sense, but rather the healthy human need for spaces of safety and predictability. But familiarity alone doesn't explain the draw. We return not just for comfort, but for continued discovery. Nintendo designs their games with such depth that new playthroughs reveal new details, new strategies, new appreciation for the craftsmanship involved. You can complete Breath of the Wild's main quest and barely scratch the surface of what the game contains. This design philosophy, creating more content than any single player will fully experience, ensures that return visits offer fresh experiences. There's also the aspect of mastery. First playthroughs are about discovery and survival. Later playthroughs become about optimization, about doing it better, faster, more elegantly. Speedrunners exemplify this to the extreme, but even casual players experience pleasure in replaying and improving. The joy isn't just in completing challenges, but in mastering them, in achieving flow states where action and reaction become effortless. The cycles in Nintendo games mirror natural cycles in satisfying ways. Mario games have world structures that cycle through grasslands, deserts, water, sky, following patterns that feel seasonally appropriate. Zelda games often feature day-night cycles and sometimes seasonal transitions. Pokémon games embed themselves in time through day-night mechanics and occasional calendar-based events. These cycles create rhythm, making the games feel alive, existing whether you're playing or not. This sense that these worlds continue existing when you're not there is psychologically powerful. Hyrule doesn't disappear when you turn off the console. Dreamland persists. The Pokémon world carries on. They're not just software, but persistent worlds that you visit rather than create through interaction. This persistence makes them feel more real, more substantial than their digital nature suggests. The hero's journey structure embedded in Nintendo games provides narrative comfort while allowing personal interpretation. Link's journey is archetypal enough that players project themselves into it, making it their story while following the classic pattern. You're not watching a hero's journey, but experiencing one, which creates stronger investment and memorable emotional arcs. But Nintendo's stories also leave spaces for imagination. They don't explain everything. Mysteries remain. This negative space invites players to imagine, theorize, create their own explanations. The community theories about Zelda's timeline or Kirby's origins aren't just speculation, but active mythology making, players engaging with the material on a deeper level than passive consumption would allow. The game's respect for different playstyles contributes to replayability. You can rush through the main story or explore every corner. You can collect everything or just enough. You can play skillfully or use mechanics that make things easier. Nintendo accommodates different approaches, allowing each player to engage on their terms, which means the games appeal to broader audiences and offer more replay options. Nostalgia plays a role, but it's more complex than simple longing for the past. These games were present during formative periods for many players, childhood and adolescence, when experiences imprint more deeply, when imagination is more vivid, when emotional intensity is higher. Returning to these games as adults creates interesting layering, experiencing them with adult perspective while connecting to childhood memories. This temporal doubling, being both your current and former self simultaneously, creates particular poignancy. You recognize how the game made you feel as a child, while also appreciating the craft that created those feelings. You can't recapture innocence, but you can honor it, can acknowledge who you were while being who you are now. The way Nintendo games balance difficulty creates sustainable engagement. Too easy and there's no satisfaction. Too hard and there's only frustration. Nintendo finds the middle ground, creating challenges that require learning and skill, but remain achievable for dedicated players. This balance makes victory meaningful without making defeat crushing, encouraging continued play rather than rage quitting. The music's role in creating lasting appeal can't be overstated. These melodies become part of your internal soundtrack, songs your mind plays during daily life, sonic comfort food that soothes stress. Hearing these familiar tunes when you return to the games creates immediate emotional connection, bypassing conscious thought to create pure feeling-based engagement. There's also the pure craftsmanship to appreciate. As you become more knowledgeable about game design, returning to Nintendo classics reveals their sophistication. The elegance of Mario's jump physics, the careful balance of Pokémon-type matchups, the environmental storytelling in Metroid, all these demonstrate mastery that becomes more impressive the more you understand it. This is similar to returning to classic literature or films as an adult and discovering new depths your younger self couldn't perceive. The work didn't change, but your capacity to appreciate it did. Nintendo games support this deepening appreciation through their layered design, remaining enjoyable at surface level while rewarding deeper analysis. The social dimension of Nintendo gaming has evolved but remains powerful. Where once you played with siblings or invited friends over, now you connect online, share screenshots, discuss strategies, watch streams. The games remain social experiences even when played alone, because the community around them is active, engaged, creative. This community aspect makes returning to Nintendo games a form of cultural participation. Playing Breath of the Wild isn't just personal experience, but connecting to millions of other players' experiences, sharing discoveries, comparing approaches, contributing to collective knowledge. This transforms solitary play into communal activity. The way Nintendo respects legacy means older games remain relevant. Re-releases and remasters allow new generations to experience classics while letting veterans revisit with enhanced features. The company doesn't abandon their past, but continues supporting it, treating their back catalog as treasures worth preserving rather than obsolete products. This long-term support creates trust. Players know Nintendo won't just abandon franchises or make them obsolete. Mario will continue. Zelda will continue. These worlds will persist, will be there when you want to return, won't disappear like many modern online-only games that shut down servers and vanish. There's comfort in this permanence. These games become landmarks in personal history, points you can return to across decades, measure your life against. You remember who you were when you first played them, how you've changed, what's remained constant. They become mirrors reflecting personal growth. The way difficulty can be adjusted through optional challenges means games can grow with players. First play, though, might use all available power-ups and easier modes. Later attempts might impose constraints, minimum items, speedrun attempts, no damage runs. The games accommodate evolving skill levels, ensuring they remain engaging rather than being outgrown. Nintendo's design philosophy of making games for everyone means they don't age out of relevance. Unlike games targeting specific demographics that feel dated as you age, Nintendo games maintain appeal across age ranges. Children, teenagers, adults, elderly, all can find enjoyment because the games don't condescend to any audience, but respect all equally. The way these worlds blend whimsy and wonder with genuine emotional depth prevents them from feeling childish even when they embrace childlike qualities. There's wisdom in Kirby's cheerfulness, strength in Link's courage, resilience in Samus's determination. These aren't shallow characters, but embodiments of virtues worth cultivating at any age. Returning to Nintendo worlds is also returning to possibility, to the sense that wonderful things can happen, that creativity and courage matter, that friendship is powerful, that evil can be defeated. In a world that often feels complex and morally ambiguous, these clear narratives of good overcoming evil provide psychological benefits, reminding us that positive change is possible through determination and hope. This isn't naive, but rather spiritually necessary. Humans need stories affirming that light overcomes darkness, that heroes can triumph, that persistence pays off. Nintendo provides these stories in interactive form, making them participatory, rather than merely observed, which strengthens their impact. The physical act of playing, hands on controllers, eyes on screens, creates meditative states. The focus required, the way time passes unnoticed during engaged play, the satisfaction of mastering mechanics, all contribute to psychological well-being. Gaming can be a form of active meditation, requiring presence and concentration that quiets anxious thoughts. Nintendo's gentler difficulty curves and reduced punishment for failure make this meditative quality more accessible. You're not constantly stressed, but rather pleasantly challenged, existing in flow states where ability matches challenge, where action feels effortless despite requiring skill. These worlds also provide fantasy spaces for working through real challenges, facing fears through controlled virtual danger, practicing decision-making through branching paths, building confidence through mastery and accomplishment. While they're not therapy, games can provide psychological benefits through safe practice of skills and virtues. The endings of Nintendo games, usually happy, but tinged with bittersweetness, feel emotionally honest. The threat is defeated, the world saved, but there's often a sense of things changing, of adventures ending, of friends parting. This mirrors real life's victories, which rarely come without some loss or change. The emotional complexity respects players while maintaining overall positivity. We return to these dreams because they're good dreams, the kind that leave you peaceful rather than disturbed, fulfilled rather than wanting. They're dreams where you have agency, where your choices matter, where your skills determine outcomes. They're dreams of worlds more magical, but also more just than our own, where courage and kindness are concretely rewarded. But we also return because they're not mere fantasy, but contain truth. Truth about the value of persistence. Truth about the importance of community. Truth about how small acts of kindness ripple outward. Truth about how facing fear makes you stronger. These worlds may be fantastical, but the lessons they teach and values they embody are profound and applicable to reality. As our journey through Nintendo's mythologies draws to a close, we return to where we began, considering why these worlds feel less like software and more like dreams collectively dreamed, mythology for the modern age, sacred spaces in secular times. What makes mythology powerful isn't realism, but resonance, the ability of stories to capture essential truths through fantastic imagery, to speak to something deep in human consciousness that recognizes these patterns as meaningful even when the surface details are impossible. Nintendo's worlds achieve this mythological resonance through careful craft, emotional honesty, and respect for players. They understand that wonder isn't incompatible with sophistication, that simple surfaces can contain profound depths, that games can be both fun and meaningful without one quality diminishing the other. The Mushroom Kingdom's cheerful surrealism masks folklore and transformation myths, teaching that identity is fluid, that power comes from unexpected sources, that magic exists in the ordinary. Hyrule's eternal cycles embody the truth that darkness recurs, but so does the hero, that each generation must face its own shadows, that courage and wisdom and power must balance for true peace. Dreamland's pink cheerfulness hides cosmic philosophy about existence choosing its nature, about primordial chaos becoming consciousness, about innocence as active choice rather than ignorance. The empty corridors of Metroid speak to loneliness and persistence, to ancient civilizations that rose and fell, to the strength found in solitude and the importance of confronting the past. The Pokémon world presents living mythology, gods and humans coexisting, creation stories as recent history, friendship as literal power that transforms both partners. It's mythology that invites participation, where you don't just hear about legendary beings but can encounter and partner with them, where you're not spectator but protagonist in ongoing cosmic drama. Nintendo's design philosophy of accessible depth, of using familiar technology in novel ways, of focusing on emotional experience over technical achievement, creates games that become cultural touchstones, experiences shared across generations, memories that persist long after hardware becomes obsolete. These worlds persist because they tap into universal patterns while remaining distinctly themselves. They follow the hero's journey while making it feel fresh. They employ archetypal characters while giving them personality. They use genre conventions while subverting expectations. They're simultaneously familiar and novel, comforting and exciting, timeless and contemporary. The architectural metaphor fits better than we might initially think. These aren't just games, but spaces, carefully designed environments that exist in multiple dimensions: visual, auditory, mechanical, emotional, social. They're places we've visited, inhabited, where we've had experiences that shaped us. They're dreamscapes that become part of our internal geography. And like dreams, they resist complete explanation. You can analyze Mario's level design, or Zelda's timeline, or Kirby's lore indefinitely without exhausting their meaning, without reducing them to pure mechanics or narrative. Something essential escapes analysis, remaining mysterious, magical, irreducible to pure logic. This is as it should be. Mythology resists complete demystification. The moment you think you've explained it fully, you've stopped engaging with it mythologically and reduced it to mere content. True myth maintains mystery while offering meaning, speaks to heart as much as mind, operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Nintendo's worlds maintain this quality. They're bright and clear on surface, accessible to children, simple enough to seem straightforward. But spend time with them, look closer, dig deeper, and you find complexity that rewards continued attention, layers of meaning that unfold over years, mysteries that generate community discussion and creative interpretation. The fact that we're still discovering new things about these games, still developing theories, still finding secrets decades after some were released, demonstrates their mythological staying power. They're not merely products consumed, but worlds explored, and exploration never truly ends because new perspectives reveal new details. As long as people play these games, share them with children, return to them across decades, create art and music and stories inspired by them, analyze their design, and discuss their lore, the mythology lives. It's not static history, but living tradition, evolving through each player's experience, each community's interpretation, each generation's relationship with these worlds. This is Nintendo's greatest achievement, creating not just entertainment, but enduring mythology, digital worlds that function as modern folklore, characters that become archetypal, stories that remain relevant across eras. They've given us mushroom kingdoms and Hylian heroes, pink heroes and bounty hunters, pocket monsters and princesses, Koopas and Koroks, and countless other inhabitants of impossible places. But more than that, they've given us spaces for imagination, permission for wonder, reminders that magic, in its way, is real. Not the magic of supernatural forces or divine intervention, but the magic of creativity, community, courage, compassion. The magic that says ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That friendship matters. That persistence pays off. That light overcomes darkness. That dreams, even impossible ones, have value. As you close your eyes tonight, as sleep approaches and consciousness shifts toward the strange logic of dreams, you might find yourself walking green fields beneath impossibly blue skies, or exploring dungeons searching for pieces of your heart, or floating peacefully through starlit cosmos, or facing down cosmic horrors with pink puffball bravery, or standing in empty alien corridors with only your thoughts and determination for company, or walking routes collecting friends and building teams of partners who fight alongside you. These are the dreams Nintendo has gifted us, the mythology we carry, the worlds that exist now not just in data and hardware, but in memory and imagination, in the collective consciousness of millions who have visited these places and been changed by them. The games will continue evolving. New technologies will bring new possibilities. New generations will discover these worlds or have their own created for them. The mythology will expand, adapt, transform, as all living mythology must. But the essential quality will remain, that sense of wonder, that feeling of possibility, that invitation to adventure, that assurance that in these places, magic is real, heroes can triumph, friendships matter, and the journey itself justifies all the effort. So, rest now. The controller can wait until tomorrow. The quests will keep. The worlds will be there when you're ready to return. But tonight, in that liminal space between waking and sleeping, you might find yourself there anyway, walking familiar paths through impossible places, remembering what these worlds taught about courage and kindness and perseverance and joy. These are Nintendo's worlds, but they're yours too now, part of your story, woven into memory and imagination, dreams you've dreamt and will dream again. Their mythology made interactive, folklore for the digital age, sacred spaces in a secular world. And they're waiting for you, whenever you're ready to return, to step once more through the pipe or portal, to pull the sword from the stone, to call out your partner, to arm the cannon, to begin again the adventure that never truly ends. If you've enjoyed drifting through these stories tonight, consider subscribing for more quiet journeys through the worlds that shaped our gaming consciousness, the mythologies hidden in plain sight, the dreams we've shared across generations and continents. Sleep well. Dream of mushrooms and moonlight, of heroes and healing hearts, of cosmic battles and cozy corners, of ancient civilizations and eternal friendships. The Mushroom Kingdom's pipes await. Hyrule's horizons shimmer with promise. Dreamland's breeze carries you gently to tomorrow. The galaxy's mysteries beckon, and countless creatures wait to become your partners in adventure. Until next time, may your nights be peaceful and your dreams be Nintendo. The end, and also, always, the beginning.